Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down and analyzing issue 175 of the Walking Dead comics as I break down the cliffhanger that we were left off with, along with predicting and theorizing what we can expect from next month's issue 176. With that being said, major warning is spoilers for everything in the comics up to the New World Order Part 1, and let's jump right into this. So, as a short refresher, New World Order is the brand new story arc which started in January 2018, and it consists of a small group of our main characters traveling all the way to Ohio in order to meet with a new group for the first time, the Commonwealth. Check out my issue 175 review for a full discussion on the Commonwealth and the New World Order, but in this video I wanted to specifically focus on the bomb dropped on us at the end of the issue. As everyone finally arrives at the Commonwealth, they approach what Lance calls the Wall of the Lost. It consists of many photographs posted up on this billboard by people in hopes that they'll one day be reconnected with their lost family members. Lance explains that a few people reconnected back in the beginning, but he goes on to describe it as a pipe dream now that it's more tragic than anything. The issue ends with Eugene pointing out to Michonne that there's a photo of herself pre-apocalypse posted on the wall with the words, "Have you seen my mom, Michonne? If you have information, please contact Elodie at the bakery on 6th Street. Now, my initial reaction was just complete shock, but also hype. I was very surprised by this turn of events, but I actually think that it's a very positive thing for the story. Not only is it a rare yet realistic turn of events, it gives more weight to Michonne's backstory, which previously kinda went nowhere. So back in issue 127, when the war with Negan concluded, we got a time skip into a new beginning as we were revealed what the passing of a few years has done to all the communities and survivors. Carl is more grown up, Rick has a beard and a cane, Jesus has his hair in a man bun, everyone overall just looks kinda older with a slightly new getup, kind of reminding me honestly of when Naruto ended and Naruto Shippuden came out. So, while the new beginning started in issue 127, Michonne isn't revealed until issue 139. That's a whole 12 issues without Michonne, right? And if the comics came out once a month, that's exactly 1 year time. So as Kirkman was building up hype for Michonne's disappearance, we finally get the answer in issue 139 when she arrives on a boat at Oceanside as a fisherman. So she gets off the ship and rolls her eyes at Ezekiel, and she discusses her true reasoning for leaving with Rick. Apparently she just packed her things and left one day, never speaking a word to Rick or Ezekiel, and they apparently sent groups out searching for her, but they never found her. She explains that although the war with Negan is over, she's still battling her own demons. Apparently Michonne was a very successful businesswoman who ended up moving further away from her two daughters due to her job. She originally married a man named Dominic and had two daughters, but she ended up divorcing Dominic and finding a new boyfriend by the name of Mike. Now, on the wiki, it states that Michonne left her daughters with a nanny, but I'm not sure if this was stated in the video game or what, or if I'm just missing it in the comics, because in issue 139, the comics mention how Dominic never could have protected their daughters as he was an artist and he couldn't even hold a screwdriver. Rick constantly gives Michonne a hard time because although he's glad to see his best friend safe and at home, he recognizes how careless and inconsiderate she's being. He truly wants to see Michonne happy instead of miserable, but he feels like she's just torturing herself by not allowing herself to be happy, such as guilting herself over the loss of her daughters, along with not allowing herself to be happy with Ezekiel until it was too late. So all of this just came out of nowhere for Michonne, and I guess that was the point, but it still seemed a little awkward storytelling wise. As Michonne gives the full explanation of her backstory and she reveals the reason why she vanished, it seems very random and very out of place the way it was revealed. Now, it is within Michonne's character, but it was still an abrupt change to her story arc that no one really expected. So she returns in issue 139, briefly explains her reasoning, and the issue ends with Rick telling her that she deserves to go home and be happy. We got this in issue 139, but that was it. It wasn't until February of 2016 that they released the Michonne video game by Telltale, which was to show her side adventure and what she was doing during her absence in the comics. And so the entire game focuses on Michonne battling her inner demons as she fights the depression and guilt of being haunted with the fact that she never went back to find her children. She was unable to live a happy new life with Ezekiel due to being haunted with the idea of abandoning her children, so she instead abandoned Ezekiel in order to go back and search for her children. Now, I understand her wanting to go and search for any clues about her kids in order to clear her head, but why did she have to abandon Ezekiel in order to do it? This is kind of a huge digression, but doesn't it seem stupid and counterproductive to abandon Ezekiel at the kingdom when your depression is literally coming from abandoning your children? If you're being haunted by the fact that you've abandoned your children, shouldn't you think, oh gee, it's probably not a good idea to abandon Ezekiel just to go look for my abandoned children, because then I'll eventually feel guilty about abandoning Ezekiel the same way that I felt guilty about abandoning my children now. And guess what? Ezekiel ends up dying, and Michonne feels awful for abandoning him and allowing herself to not be happy with him. Oh, big surprise. Anyways, with that rant out of the way, sorry about that, let's get back to my main point of why I'm even bringing up Michonne's entire backstory. So, we were originally given an absence for Michonne's character in the comics for about a year, as we were left to wonder what the mystery behind her disappearance was, and then once we finally found out, we got an entire video game to go along with it. This introduced Pete and Sadiq, along with elaborating on Michonne's guilt of never being able to find her children in the zombie apocalypse. Due to this, everyone just thought that Michonne's absence, along with her entire Michonne Oceanside story arc in the comics, just seemed like a pointless waste of time in order to hype up a video game and nothing more. Now with that being said, that's definitely not the case anymore, considering Michonne's shocking reveal in issue 175. Now, although all of this Michonne stuff was totally still just build-up hype for the video game, at least it's not completely pointless now, as it's actually circling around back into the story. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I did not expect Michonne's backstory to be looped around this way, but I'm happy that they did. I now realize that it was realistic for Michonne to never find a conclusion when she went out searching for her kids, especially when it was so long after abandoning them, as many people in the zombie apocalypse would probably share a similar experience to this, losing a family member, wanting to go find them. Now with that being said, it's also a rare possibility that out of all the people who never found a conclusion, a small portion of those people did. Whether it was within a week of the apocalypse happening, or a month, or even years down the road like in Michonne's case here, it still is possible for reunions like this to happen, and it's crazy that we might potentially see it happen to Michonne within the next issue or so. Kirkman probably had something like this in mind, but he maybe just didn't know exactly when to bring it into the story for quite a while. He probably had the idea of Michonne possibly reconnecting with her kids, but it makes sense that he decided to hold off on this until after the Whisperer War. It's amazing how all of this was set up way back in the beginning of The New Beginning, and now it's just all coming full circle as we finally get what seems like a part 2 to Michonne's backstory. Part 1 was just learning about her backstory and her children, along with the tragedy of her not knowing what happened to them. And thinking about this in hindsight, it is completely realistic. It's totally believable that a family could have been separated the day of the apocalypse, never to be reunited again. Anyways, part 2 snuck up on us out of nowhere, just like what was said in the letter hacks, which I'll get into more in a minute here, but we had our minds focused on a new story and a new location with new characters and a new possible threat. We weren't thinking about Michonne's backstory or how it would come into play here, which is why it was the exact perfect moment to drop this bomb on us. So that begs the question, is Michonne's daughter Elodie alive? If so, how old is she? She was just a kid around the time that the apocalypse started, so is she a teenager now like Carl? It's one thing to be reunited with your kid after not being able to see them grow up in their teenage years, but just imagine how crazy that situation would be in a zombie apocalypse. For all we know, and for all Michonne knows, Elodie could have gone through some serious shit. She could be a completely different person than what Michonne remembers, causing it to be possibly difficult for Michonne to relate and reconnect with her daughter. With that being said, would Elodie be happy to see her mother? I mean, probably, but apparently Michonne never really visited her kids that much, and it was heavily implied that she neglected being a mother due to having a busy job across town, so we'll have to wait and see how happy Michonne's daughter is to see her if she's still alive. For all we know, Elodie could have grown this hatred towards Michonne due to wondering why Michonne never came to find her. Elodie could have some serious abandonment issues herself, and it will take a lot of maturity for Michonne to apologize for not looking for them immediately after the apocalypse. So although we've tackled an entire discussion about Elodie, what about Michonne's other daughter, Colette? Considering that the picture of Michonne only mentions one sister, are we to assume that the other one died before this picture was posted on the Wall of the Lost? Out of everyone who's died in the comics under all the different circumstances, it's not unbelievable that one of the two sisters would tragically die, and if so, hopefully we get filled in on the details. Michonne would definitely appreciate the closure, and it would be heavily interesting for the fans to read. And so, to quote Sean and Robert Kirkman from the Letter Hacks portion of issue 175, I fell for it as much as you. the new world order, new community, new friends, new enemies, all new everything, and then bam, the past catches up with one of our most beloved characters. Is a reunion in store for Michonne? I hope so. Along with, I hope the end of this issue caught all of you off guard. This is either leading to the most positive and optimistic storyline in The Walking Dead history, or the darkest one. We'll just have to wait and see. There is so much new and cool stuff on the horizon in this storyline. The Commonwealth is going to bring with it a whole new cast of characters that will play off of characters who we've grown to love in very different ways than we've seen before. Now, I've said this before, but I want to know how long Kirkman has been planning this. This seems to be quite the Hodor moment if you've seen Game of Thrones, and so I think he definitely deserved props for this. It came out of nowhere at just the perfect time, and it just adds a sense of realism and connection to the world of The Walking Dead. If Michonne's daughter is alive, will reconnecting them together give Alexandria some leverage within the Commonwealth? There's apparently like 50,000 people within this new community, so who knows what portion Elodie is in, but it would be interesting if her job within the community actually had to do with either politics or electronics or something else that would later prove useful. And if Michonne can reconnect with her daughter and make amends for the whole abandonment issue, having Elodie on our side could give our group some good credit as far as introductions and first impressions go. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, as I'd absolutely love to hear your thoughts. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything I've said today, or even subscribe for more breakdowns involving the Walking Dead comics in the near future. If you'd like to take that extra step in helping support my videos, consider checking out my Patreon, where there's a bunch of different rewards involving the channel, such as a chance to directly influence the videos being produced. The Patreon has been up and running for a while now. I'll hopefully be able to create a bunch of extra content for you guys, but again, let me know what you'd prefer. It isn't necessary by any means, but it could really help in the long run. But as always, I thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.